Spears and Steinberg.
You know what it is?
Aries and Andy, chewing the jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut, cold. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Scribe, we lit.
There's levels to this before you was on your mama.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism,
Sexism,
much love to my loyal bag holders,
rollers, loaders.
we got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Aries.
What's happening, brother?
Oh, we're back. We're back in our home cities, though, not together.
Yeah. It's funny, as I'm talking to you, Roadhouse, the original, is on TV right now. This was so much better than the original.
It is.
I mean, better than the remake.
But it's a different movie. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, and you know, I saw where they're going to do they're going to do a sequel to the one with Jake.
Yeah.
I don't know that it really is worth another one.
It's funny. I think if you're more connected to like Conor McGregor and to those characters, it's funny to you.
Yeah, but Conor McGregor died viciously, so he ain't gonna be in the second one.
Not
that I know we need to even see him again.
Well, his character was funny though. No, not that. I mean, they're gonna get someone else. I like how he played over the top. He's over the top, and he played his character over the top. There was some funny stuff in there. Leave
I just wanted to say
alone.
that. Yeah, I just wanted to say that because this was on the TV. Listen, we got some meat and potatoes, but I want to quickly get to so that we have enough time to talk about the meat and potatoes. First things first, and I know Andy will chuckle when I remind him of this. So we're in Boston. We finish our shows. It's the next day. Let me give you guys some context. We're staying at the W Hotel. Andy, you were like, what, 14th floor or something?
Yeah, 14th.
I'm on the 9th floor. The way that this is set up, there's the room, and where the walls should be is mostly windows. Some real fly, sexy. And across the hotel from us is, across the hotel from us is the Four Seasons. Same kind of setup. Large glass windows where walls would be. So I'm laying in bed. I'm butt naked. And I look out my window and I can see across into the Four Seasons hotel windows. There's this woman, butt naked. And she's got her phone with a selfie stick. And she's positioning the selfie stick in certain places in the room, and she's taking photos and recordings of herself butt naked in all kinds of positions. It was one of those things where you see it at first and you go, what the f-? So I rubbed my eyes to make sure I'm not tripping. And then when I saw I wasn't tripping, dude, I got up and I went to the window. And you know what I did? I called Andy and it was like a giddy teenager when you sneak into the girls' locker room. I don't know, there's a hole somewhere in the wall, maybe in the boys' locker room, that sees it. Real porkies type.
Yeah, porkies. Good call.
And I go, Andy, blah, blah, blah. This broad is across the way, butt naked, posing in the chair, taking booty shots, asshole shots, putting a leg up shots, and everything. And this broad is going to town on herself. And at one point, when I thought it couldn't get any freakier, this broad grabs a and she puts the on herself and starts and sucking. Man,
she did it in public view, so it's not on it's not on us. But the thing is, and the reason you said porkies and you said you got all giddy because you got to see something that you weren't supposed to see. That's why it's. You think you're not supposed to see, but she's doing it in public with all the windows open, right?
But I'm asking myself, is she? Because she might have the windows open, but she might be thinking, "Oh, I'm so high up," or she might not have been conscious of the fact that our hotel was across the way and we could see in. She might not have been thinking about that, or was she doing it on purpose? Like, I don't give a.
I think she's probably an OnlyFans. has an OnlyFans page, and she was doing some shit for OnlyFans because she didn't care. Because there's no way you don't think that someone across the way can see you. I mean, these are big, wide windows. Like you said, it's something you're not supposed to see.
When she put this on and started sucking, trying to motion like she was sucking the on her, I said, who is this for? Whoever this is for, this dude is into some freaky shit.
That's why I thought it might be an OnlyFans, because there's no...
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you're not getting anything. You know, I shouldn't say that. I don't know what people do to make themselves happy, but I don't think that you put a on that has no has no feel, right? It's synthetic.
Right.
So what's she getting out of it? Other than unless she's entertaining someone on a computer. You know,
but that's what I was thinking. Like, well, maybe this was some dude who was like, yo, I'm turned on by, I want you to such and such with a and she's shooting these videos or taking these pics for him. Dude, there was a point where I counted up from the ground up how many floors so I could go, let me go over there. And then once I get to the right floor, I'll just knock on doors till I get to hers.
Hello? Excuse me. Who are you doing this for? Is it for me? Because if it's for me, I want to talk to you.
Right. My God.
Yeah, it was kind of funny, man. I was so funny because it was early in the morning, too. She got up early to do that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, me and my woke up.
Before
real quick.
Go
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said, before you jump on this real quick, I just wanted to, before you get into the meat, I wanted to say that we were going to do this yesterday. There was a moment we were going to do it yesterday, and the times we picked was going to be when the Knicks were playing. And I don't know if you watched the game.
That was that. Go ahead. Yeah, Jesus.
You know what? There's a lot of talk about it, but dude, the team who was left to play? Brunson finally gets hurt. Hart's, put the abdominal strain. I'm not saying they didn't have players. They had players. They had a team, but they didn't have anybody that was. And so, I'm not making excuses for New York. I just hope to see him back there next year. A big shout out to them. I want to give them a shout out for doing what they did as they were losing more and more players. It was still a great game.
Not to get too deep, but I have to say this because this is the thing that plagues me mentally. I've said this on this podcast. When I go, we all know that life ain't fair, but why does it seem like life has to go out of its way to be cruel? And this is where I go. I know people who think this is stupid because at the end of the day, you're going, dude, it's a basketball game. It's not real life. It's not anything major. But I just go, wasn't it bad enough that the Knicks lost as many players as they did? Then to have a Game 7 at home in the Garden with a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals, only to then not only get blown out at home in a Game 7 in front of your crowd, but then to have Jalen Brunson suffer a broken hand. And I go, man, God ain't real. Like give me a break. Isn't it bad enough that they're getting blown out at home, Game 7 in a Garden? You gotta, it's like, you on top of the insult to injury, you gotta piss all over my birthday cake and make this man, just break his hand too. Like, come on, where is some mercy? Dear Lord God Jesus. And that's when I just went, you know what? Life just happens. There is no rhyme or reason to this. There is no God. It's beyond unfair. It's cruel. Life just happens. And whatever you get, you get.
Well, yeah, you can't disagree with what you just said, but that's why I wanted to give. To get to where they were. I thought they were going to win Game 7. I didn't know where Hart was, with his abdominal strain, and then Brunson's situation, and they did an excellent job considering. So just a big shout out to them. I'm sure we're going to see him back next year. They have money, they have space, they're going to do well. I also wanted just real quick to all the haters of my Phoenix Suns. Yes, they got swept. I'm not making any excuses for them, but I am happy to see that Minnesota, the team that swept them, just beat the champs.
They blew that shit, didn't they?
Yeah, so everybody, they did. They blew that 20 points.
Denver blew that.
But to go, but to shit on Phoenix because this team that Phoenix beat all season long And then for them to come out and sweep us, yes, that was painful.
You know what was crazy? You know what I thought? I don't know the coach's name for Denver, but I went, when you had a 20-point lead, when that got down to 10, at no point did he call a timeout
You think
to re-galvanize the troops.
You think your team's going to work through it. Yeah, he should have called a timeout. But you think
That's
your team's
insane.
You know who used to not call a timeout, though?
Phil Jackson.
Yeah, because he knew his team. He was putting it on the team to fight back. But you have to have that mentality to fight back.
But that's Phil Jackson, though.
Yeah.
Phil, that Zen he be on, that sage shit he be burning. Phil's a different cut. You can't. That's a different cut.
And his players were a different cut.
Because I believe in that circumstance, Phil may have called a timeout. I believe any smart coach, Pat Riley, Chuck Daly, dude, you're up 20. It's game 7. You're at home. There is a momentum swing happening. Call a timeout.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think you're right. They should have. But as I said, and as I was saying, the Phoenix haters, yes, they got swept. Can't make an excuse for that. But by the team that just took out the champs. I'm telling you, it's a better team than they were getting credit for when they beat the brakes off of Phoenix. So I'm excited to see what Phoenix retools. I have 2 teams that I like to watch: New York, Phoenix. Next year, it's next year, man.
Well, I'll say this, going back to New York for a second, and I've been saying this for a minute and been wanting to put it in my stand-up. I just have to write whatever the joke is around it. But again, one of my sayings is, I feel like life is just one big casino. Everybody has a hand to be played. Some people, very few people, are fortunate enough to have a winning hand that beats the house. While the truth is, most of us just get to enjoy the free liquor and the 99-cent buffet. That's life.
Yeah.
Because I just went, come on, man. Come on, basketball gods. They're already man down after man down after man down. Game 7 at home, blowout. That's not enough. Now you got to make Jalen Brunson break his hand. Come on.
It reminds me of
Dude, I'm not even a Knicks fan. And I was deflated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, listen, speaking.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of New York, I have in my notes as we go through this, I write little notes, one-liners, so I know what we're talking about. So I had next pod, Boston Peep Show. Can we put it on Patreon? Then I wrote New York. Let me tell you what happened. So I'm in New York I'm with my girl and a bunch of her family. We go to Carmine's, the Italian restaurant. Remember when we all went to Carmine's?
Yeah, you were going to call me.
Yeah. So we went to Carmine's. My bad. We went to Carmine's, and at one point, towards the meal being over, I go outside to go smoke a cigarette. Now, I got my cigarettes, but I don't have a lighter with me. So I asked the guy at the door who works there, hey, man, you got lighter, matches? He goes, nah, bro, I don't. Just as he said that, this white lady comes out with her dude, and I notice she has a cigarette in her hand. So I'm going, okay, well, then more than likely she has a lighter. So the moment I see her, and listen, she was a little tipsy, so I don't know if this had much to do with it, but I go, miss, do you have a lighter? She goes, no, I don't. I go, okay. She steps off to the side to go smoke a cigarette, and about 4 beats later, I see her pull a lighter out of her bra. So clearly she had one, she just didn't want to give it to me. So I go back over, and I go, miss, I just need to light my cigarette. Can I please use your lighter? She goes, yeah, here. She tries to light it for me, but it's kind of windy. So I go, here, look, let me do it. That way I could shield it. And I could just step off in the corner here and use the building and my hand to shield it. She gives me the lighter. And as I go to light my cigarette, she says to me, yeah, but you're not going to steal it, are you? So I reach in my pocket. I pull out my $4,000 in cash. I said, I could buy 100 lighters. What made you think that was okay to say to a black man? And even when she said it, and let me just because I know there are some people that will play devil's advocate and go try to make an excuse for that. She was one of these, Andy, swarmy, New Yorky type ballsy women who you could tell says whatever the is on her mind. She just had that Long Island, I'm from New York kind of, who the you think you know, she had that attitude. So, and like I said, I could tell she was a little tipsy, so that might have lent itself to it. But nonetheless, but when she said it, the telltale sign was even her dude looked embarrassed. And he was like, it's cool, man. It's cool. But I just went, what the made you thought it was okay to say that to me? Don't steal it?
Well, she didn't say don't steal it. She says you're not going to steal it. She gave you the benefit of the doubt.
Potato. Racist, whatever.
You know, but in New York, I'm not saying, you know, this is the other thing.
Before you continue, I came out of the same expensive restaurant you were in.
That's what I was just going to say. She saw you come out of the restaurant. She knew you were eating there. She was being off. Yes, she's off. But what I was saying is, you know, when you're in New York and especially that area in Times Square, there's a lot of going on in that area too. But you know, like you just said, you came out of the same place, you're the same people, and she's gonna pull this. That is up. It is. I'm not gonna deny that. That is up. But
I got $4,000 in cash on me. I could buy 1 million lighters.
I like how you said I could buy.
And to some people that might go, well, why didn't you? That's not the point. At the moment that I needed it, where I was, there wasn't a place for me to go get one.
You know what happened? Someone stole Ari's lighter.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. I wouldn't even be, if it asked me for it, I wouldn't have even given it to him because I would have been fearful of that.
Just funny, man. Just funny. Just real quick, I just got to do this because people have been writing in and asking me, where's the hat that I was saying that I was going to get? I got the hat. I just can't wear it with the headphones, and I don't take it on the road because it just gets it's too much of a pain in the ass. You bring ball caps on the road. That's how it works.
It's a good looking. That looks good on you. But you know, if you had the earphone, like I haven't been wearing my over the head earphones because I actually need to get some new ones because these things have just been with me since 1968. We've been through Vietnam. We've seen two tours in Iraq. One of the parts just cracked.
I keep ordering new pieces for it, but it's probably at that time. Yeah, it's at that time.
Yeah, and so I'm wearing the earbuds now. So
you know why? You know why I'm not wearing the earbuds?
Why?
Those are my earbuds. I gave them to you.
See, I stole them. Real quick before we get to the meat and potatoes, dude. I don't know if you've seen it. I'm sure you've heard of it. I don't know if you've been curious about it. But for a while now, I downloaded this movie to watch with Jason Statham called Beekeeper.
Yeah, I watched it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you something. And I know we weren't scheduled to talk about this, but I wanted to see it. The previews look good. This plot was so horrifically awful. It was just an excuse to get Jason Statham to beat up people and kill them.
Right, that's all it was.
That plot was horrible.
Okay, let's say the plot is horrible. But if you're watching it for him to beat people up and kill them, it had the action. But it didn't have a good plot.
For you folks that don't know, here's the plot in a nutshell. He's a beekeeper. He's a beekeeper, and for some unexplained reason that they don't go into depth, he's rented a barn as a living space on Felicia Richard's farm. And he's her beekeeper. And they've developed this relationship over a course of time where they have like this mother-son relationship.
She's the only one who ever took care of me.
Yeah, that was the line. Other than the fact that she invites him to dinner and he goes, I've never had anybody take care of me. They have not established this relationship at all. And this whole, I never had nobody take care of me, comes within the first 15 minutes of the movie. Cut to, she's on her computer. There's this virus that she gets, or so she thinks. She calls the company, and there's this big corporation-like company that is on some underground, we steal people's money through scams type. And they basically steal all her retirement money. And it won't, and she has like, she's worth over like 2 point something million. They take all of that.
Her foundation.
Now this bitch, for foundation. Now this Felicia Rashad is an older woman. She's a senior citizen. Not old, but you could tell she's in her, 60s, maybe, something like that. Black woman. She commits suicide because of this. Hence, now Jason Statham has a reason to kill everybody involved. First of all, let's back up. If black women historically haven't shown you anything, is that they are a strong tribe. Ain't no black woman offing herself over that. And clearly a woman at Felicia's age done been through the 60s, civil rights, probably comes from a long lineage of black women who historically have eaten and have taken the abuse that life and America has dealt them. We supposed to believe that this old black woman killed herself over this? And her daughter, who is a cop, she doesn't call her to get involved and figure out what's what. This to me is where a little bit, and I didn't even think about this until now, the white savior comes in. Her daughter is a police officer in the movie. So before she put a bullet in her mouth, she didn't go, let me call my daughter to see if she can figure out what this is about and help me. But of course, who's the savior? I'm the beekeeper.
Well,
and then finally, once Jason Statham starts kicking ass, it goes into Cell Block 99 territory. I mean, it just gets silly. At one point, when the elevator does what it does, it cuts a SWAT member in half. This shoots United States Armed Forces, and there's no manhunt for this. I mean, I'm in action, man food. We're men. I like action. It's what we do. But I think because I'm getting older, I'm going, you gotta stop, sell me ridiculous a little less.
That was a great scene though when it cuts him in half. I'm sorry. It might have been impossible, but the shot was good. The shot was good.
This had a mixture of Cell Block 99 meets Jason Voorhees deaths.
And Steven Seagal. The way that he just takes the way he takes the weapons away from people and does certain things. Very Steven Seagal-like, but Steven Seagal believes that stuff.
Right. Dude, listen. 20 minutes into the movie, I went, this is stupid. I thought it was going to be really great. It was stupid. I think I fell asleep on the last 12 minutes.
I watched it on the plane last week.
I did too.
Yeah, so
I did too on the way home.
Yeah, that was it. I'm glad I didn't pay for that. But it's a Statham. But let me ask you this question because you brought up Statham real quick. Do you think Statham would have made a better? What's the movie that they're remaking? We just said The Bodyguard, not The Bodyguard.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Do you think he would have made the better?
You know, because it's Statham, I don't know that he would have made the better, but I think I would have appreciated him more than Jake Gyllenhaal because that's what he does. He has a reputation of doing this. This is what he does.
You know what would have been cool?
For Jake Gyllenhaal, this was some new shit.
You know what would have been really cool?
What's that?
If they made him the bad guy. If they would have if he would have had the Conor McGregor character.
But he wouldn't have had that walk.
No, he wouldn't have had that walk. He would have had his walk. But still, I want to see Jerry Seinfeld enter the room as the bad guy with that walk. He leads with his like pelvis first. So no, I think he would. I think Statham would have made. Has he ever played a bad guy, Statham?
No.
I think that might have been kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So that's it as far as I got on the appetizers. So
all right, let's get into it then.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, I don't have a whole lot of notes for Kramer versus Kramer.
You want to do that one first, or you want to do the?
Yeah. No, because I don't have a whole lot of notes for that.
All right.
Can you start out with anything? Because I just while I'm just typing this important message.
Yeah,
I got to get to.
Yeah, this
my
is what I would like to start. I would like to start off with this. I hadn't seen it. We talked about it, and I said to you, hey, I hadn't seen it yet. You go, well, then you can follow my notes, and we'll just go off it because I saw it, and you remember it. And I said, yeah, I remember it because it was when I was a kid, and it affected me because I was a product of a failed marriage. My parents were, divorced, but. When I saw it, I was really glad I rewatched it because the acting in this is awesome. It is an incredible. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, "That's why Dustin Hoffman's the actor." This is why I can't remember her name because my brain's going to take a break right now.
Meryl Streep.
Meryl Streep is considered one of the best, and this is Meryl Streep early in her career too. Dustin Hoffman still early in his career, but this is when he's maturing into who he's going to be. Dude, I watched it, and even the kid, they didn't make overact. They really kept him.
That was one of my notes. I was like, this kid deserved an Oscar, dude.
Yeah.
He deserved an Oscar.
And, I'm sure I'm going to get from beginning to end real quick just because these are the things that impressed me about the movie because I hadn't seen it in so long. Watching... For the director, for the writer, for everybody involved in this, to really do the process where you see him make breakfast for his son the very first time, and then at the end when he's gonna move into with his mom, and how he's making breakfast that day. Right. I felt that. I felt that because when I got divorced and I had move into my own place and I didn't have all my stuff and I'm trying to figure out how do I make dinner? How do I feed how do I do this? I still made dinner before, but I don't have all my stuff. I'm not in my house. I'm trying to figure my stuff out. And by the end, I'm a dad. But at that moment, you see how the struggle, his is different because mine was just maybe more about me relocating and have to do it from a different place in my life. Right. But man, I'm telling you, at the end, it still hit me hard. The movie hit me hard.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that from the perspective of you being the single dad part. Let me ask you this, because, we know it was the 80s, so shit was just different in the 80s.
Yeah.
That scene where he walks to the bathroom and the woman comes out that Dustin was sleeping with pretty much butt naked, and she's just covering her private parts with her hands. They shot that like that. Any way they do that today?
I think maybe, but they probably shoot it differently. They would probably shoot it and you wouldn't see the kid's head because she would be standing there delivering the lines to nobody, and the kid they would have shot it, a quick scene where they have a head, maybe not the kid. I would still shoot it that way. I had a personal experience, not where two personal. One with Tara. True walked into the bedroom and Tara was standing there, naked, and she had to cover up almost exactly the same way she did, but she didn't stand there and have a conversation. It was more like of a scream. And then True went, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. And he walked But I did have one before I was ever dating Tara, but completely different, where my mom came over. And my mom was coming over. And I don't know what, she didn't call. She was supposed to call when she got there. My mom just walked in the house, and the girl I was seeing was coming out of the bathroom. And my mom caught her completely butt-ass naked from the bathroom. So, yeah, this happens. So, yeah, I think you could still do it. I think you might do it a little differently today, So the thing that caught me that would be different today is when he grabbed his wife when she was ready to leave, Meryl Streep. When he grabbed her by the arm, I don't think they would they would do that a little differently today. I don't know. Maybe they would, but then she would say something different. Like it would be to put his hands on her when she's trying to leave. That's a different story today.
Yeah. The sensitivity of it may change that.
Yeah, back then you could diddy a chick and bring her back into
I didn't even have that in my notes, but damn, yeah, right.
So, yeah, we didn't even talk about that in the appetizers, but Yeah, that happened this
Yeah.
weekend too. Real quick, what did you think of his apology? Did you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's to be expected because that's, we live in a press conference age now. You know, every time something happens, I mean, as wrong as it was and is, you got to have a press conference.
Real quick, I just want to say this because this is the thing that I find. Like, I do have the sympathy I don't want to have for him, but I have a little sympathy for him on this one, and this is why. That happened in 2016. I'm not saying that you should have sympathy for him. I'm not saying you should feel anything. I don't have sympathy for what he did. I think that, you are accountable. That's not where the sympathy comes in. The sympathy comes in for me on this. If this did, obviously it happened. But if he did the things that he said, he saw his life falling apart. He goes to therapy. He's trying to get his life back to, and then this comes out now. What, 8 years later?
Yeah, it happened in 2016.
Yeah, so that's
8 years later.
8 years later.
Yeah.
And you worked on it for, let's say, the last 6 years, and you put in the work, and you did, and then you have to, almost like you have to regress to go all the way back.
Well, wait a minute. When you say you put in the work, what do you mean? Like he's been working on himself and?
Yeah, if he went to the therapist, if he did the things that he said.
But that's all an assumption.
No, I know. That's why I'm saying this is where I would have some. I'm not saying that I'm sympathizing for the guy. I'm saying if this were, let me rephrase how I said it. If it was me and I made a huge mistake, that's past a mistake. Actually, this is you're beating a woman. But if you realize that you f***ed up and you go to therapy, you try to make amends to the woman. He never talks about that. So, but I'm saying from my point of view, I go and make amends to the woman. I'm apologetic. I'm bowing down. Please forgive me. I f***ed up. Whatever it is that you have to do to go through that. And you're trying to become better. And then 8 years later, that comes out and you have to go all the way back to regress your progress. The regression of the progress is what I feel bad for him about. Not for what he had to go through, not for doing anything. I would feel bad that you have to regress and go all the way back and then still try to work your way back out of it. That's the only thing. Because in this society now, which you said at a press conference, this video comes out from 8 years ago. They can't even do anything about it legally because I think it's 7 years. But you as a person,
statute of limitations.
Yeah, you have to go all the way back to where you were the piece. Listen, I don't know where he is in his mental now, so I'm not giving him a pass on it. I'm just saying that's if he did do the things and you have to come back, the society is going to hold you accountable forever. It could be 20 years, and he still would have been held accountable. I'm only looking at it from my perspective as a person that I try to get better, and then I have to go backwards.
Yeah.
If you did put in the work, that's all. I'm going to get out of that because this is a rough one. I don't know if people are going to understand what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that he f***ed up. I'm just saying if you're trying to do your best and then this comes out, it's a regression.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's like Diddy's done. That's the phrase, Diddy's done. But listen, I thought that after enough time would go by, Kevin Spacey would be forgiven and come back, and he's still in exile. So maybe that's part of the new age we live in, is that once you're in exile, based on the seriousness of the crime or the situation, you're in exile.
Well, I think it also depends on what you, like you just said, what you did, the seriousness of the situation, because it seems like when Spacey, like enough time goes by that people aren't talking about, they throw some more information out there, or they put something else out so that it goes back down. But they're trying to bury Diddy. Yeah. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm not saying that they should. I'm not. That's not my point. My point is, as a human, if you really tried to make the effort to be a better person, and then this comes out, that sucks for you. But you did it, so it's on you. I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say.
All right, ready for the meat and potatoes?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Andy brought to my attention this Steve Martin documentary, 2-part documentary that was on Apple TV. What's it called, Stevie? Steve
Martin. I don't. Here, I'll look it up real quick because. Yeah,
I love when Andy goes, I'll look it up real quick.
Well, I'll look it up. I'll look it up real slow. Let me look it up real slow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Steve Martin, a documentary, 2 pieces. That's all it is. It's just called Steve.
Oh, okay. In the beginning, and you said something to me about the second part not being as being a little bit slower or whatever. I almost got just as much out of the second part that I did the first part.
Well, I didn't know what your buy-in to the first part would be. I knew that you would, as a person who loves comedy and comedians and understands it, I knew you would like it. I didn't know how much of a buy-in you would get into it.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of seeing the ascension of someone from bottom to the top and what they have to go through and the trials and tribulations and the challenges. That stuff, I could watch that kind of shit all day. At one point, when he said, "I have no talent," do you think he really believed that?
You want it from my personal perspective? I can't give you. I can believe it. I feel that way every day, man. I feel that way every day. Listen, we're 2 different people. I started comedy at 42. You started at 14. Think about that for a second. You were deemed, not only did you put effort in and do it and get recognized young, I didn't feel like I had the ability. If it wasn't for a dare, I would have never done it.
Right.
So, no, I don't feel like I have any talent. When I see the greats, dude, I work with you every week. I tell people this all the time. You don't get the credit you deserve, not only for the comedy, but as the performer, the performance. Dude, every show you do is a performance. It's not just the comedy. You give the people a show every single time. I got to be really honest. I don't think I'm that kind of talent. I never have. I think I know. I think I'm obscure in the idea of what is funny to me. I think people find me interesting more than they find me funny. So that's just my personal opinion. So I could very much see his feelings. Yes.
When his girlfriend at the time, Stormy, said there are 2 kinds of people in the world: those who understand Steve Martin's humor and those that don't. And before I say what I'm about to say, I'll say this. Once I saw the whole thing, the first part, the second part, the total evolution of who he became and who he was, it's one of those things where even if you don't necessarily dig it in terms of what he did, his talent, you have to respect it. You have to, because just the body of work, the accomplishments, and this is why I say I got as much out of the second part as I did the first part, because the second part to me delved more into the philosophy side of him.
Yes.
And at one point he talked about how he went to college for philosophy. And I'm saying all that to say, the early part of his career, the bunny ears, the balloon hats, the happy feet dancing, I just didn't get it, dude. I just, the jokes, what he did, and to become the phenomenon that he became. I'm one of them people where I don't get this. Why is this spectacular to people?
Some of that, I think, and they address it. He addresses it. I think has to do with timing. It's all about the war. Everybody's talking, political comedy. No one's being silly. No one's having fun, and people want to break. You're in a war period, and all the people want to do is talk about war. You turn on the news, it's about war. Then you go to see a comedian, it's about war. He gave them the break, and sometimes I think that's necessary. I think in my comedy, a lot of times I don't give people a break. Almost the whole way through, I kind of even make it seem like it's going to be a break, and then I throw some horrible situation at you. He gives them a break, and I think that was necessary at the time. And it was almost like that anti-comedy idea, the rabbit ears, the arrow through the head. It's almost like the silliness of what it is, more so than the comedy of what it is. One of my I still love it because it's not the funniest joke in the world, but I love the idea of it. And it's about philosophy. It's when he's standing there and he goes, "This is the most amazing or the best place I could imagine." I don't know exactly the wording, but he's like, "Oh, I'm so excited to be here. This is the best place I could ever be." And then he moves and he goes, "You know what? This is the best place I could be." And then he moves again, the best place. But it's philosophy. It's how you're looking at it. It's more of a breakdown than it is actually funny. But to me, a person like me, extremely funny.
This is where I have to get racial a little bit. I went, Steve Martin is the epitome of the saying that black people have to work 10 times as hard to be as successful as something as a white person. Because I can't recall a black comedian that has ever been Steve Martin-like. You know, catchphrases, silly dances, weird props, just that silliness that I don't know of any black comedian that has ever done that. And I kind of feel like if there was one, somehow they wouldn't get the same pass.
No, they wouldn't. You know why? Not because I don't think that they would. It appeals to a different audience. Tell me a black audience is good. I'm not saying there aren't black people that find it funny. I'm just saying, tell me the audience that is going to find that funny.
Well, listen, of course, as we all know, and as I've said, nothing is one way in life. There's no one way with anything.
Right.
There's always going to be an opposite. So there are some black people that I'm quite sure would find that funny.
Right.
That found him funny. But in terms of the mass majority, no.
But
he's not black people's cup of tea.
But when you're appealing to a wide audience, you're a white guy appealing to a large demographic of white people, you're going to find people in there that do find it funny. Are you going to get out of your culture and find that white audience if you're black, and if you're doing black rooms? I think this is where I understand the oppression of black entertainment. Is because how do you take yourself as a black comic doing black rooms, growing up in a black culture, and try to get yourself, if you are that kind of comic, outside of that box and then into that other level, that crossover level? It is difficult.
But there are some black comics who, yes, while they're black by pigmentation, who've never felt part of the culture.
Right.
And they appeal more to a white audience.
Right. But they have to build themselves out of that black. They have to build themselves to the white audience, which causes a different kind of backlash. They're not funny. They can only they're brought down before they can sometimes get brought up. It's very tough. But I do want to say this: Steve Martin, still a unicorn, still unique. Who's the new Steve Martin?
Well, one of the things I was going to ask you as I was watching him, especially moments where they talked about how he went into the crowd.
Yeah.
And he had that one Pied Piper moment where he took basically the entire audience with him walking down the street, told them to get into an empty pool, crowd surfed, also took them to Crystal's, a little hamburger joint, and bought 300 hamburgers. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of Robin Williams.
And
how close would you say they were?
I would say
in the same vein.
In that perspective that you're talking about, I think it's even closer to Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman used to take people out to go get ice cream after a show.
But Andy was so weird.
He was so
to the
weird.
point where he made a lot of audiences wonder if he was even doing comedy. Like, is
You're
this
right.
dude be at a mental institute?
Yeah, it's that anti-comedy kind of idea, or that new comedy. What's I don't even know the name. What's like. I'll get to it later. I don't want
Alternative?
Yeah, alternative comedy. It's more like an alternative. But I think that, like you're saying, though, I think Steve Martin and Robin Williams crossed that barrier. Because if Robin Williams would go into the audience, Robin Williams would go off the mic and just start yelling at the audience and go into the crowd and do. So, yes, similar in the idea. But the difference is Robin worked very off the cuff, where Steve Martin was very, like, he knew what his set was. He knew what his act was. I'm not saying he didn't do anything outside of that. Like you talk about the playbook and being able to go outside of it. I think Steve Martin was a pocket quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He had his fucking act. And I think that's a big difference between him and Robin Williams.
Yeah, dude. Dude, like when they pointed out the statistical fact that it was like he to this day is the only comedian that was as large as he was, and I wish I wrote down the actual
Numbers.
But to this day, no other comedian has done what he has done the way he did it in terms of mass numbers and success and being that large. And again, I'm just looking at what the act was, and I'm just going, I don't understand it.
Okay, but you got to look at it from this perspective, though, too. Like I said, people wanted some silliness. They didn't want the wartime stuff. And then SNL comes out. He's on SNL. He taps into that whole SNL market, this new comedy, this alternative kind of situation, whatever you want to call it. And that's what bridges him to this new audience. And television now at that time was the only way to get momentum. We didn't have social media. We didn't have VCRs at home at the time. So you weren't getting VHS tapes at Blockbuster, right? So television was it, and that catapulted him into that market. And let's be honest, SNL, especially the early days before Eddie Murphy, is a white show. So that's what pushes that. But when you say these big theaters, you don't think Kevin Hart is in that same range with doing arenas that size?
I mean, yeah.
I think Kevin Hart is in that stratosphere, because Kevin Hart is kind of, as you know, I'm not saying he's silly but he is silly. He does some silly jokes, but he's authentic.
Yeah, but he's not even close to being in the same neighborhood as what Steve Martin was doing.
No, because things have to change.
Kevin is doing actual jokes, though.
But
like
that crossover.
Premise, punchlines.
Yes. But the crossover is what I'm saying. Kevin talks about his kids and his fun, and Kevin's fun. Kevin yells, and Kevin, everybody has their own thing. He can't be Steve Martin. He has to be Kevin. But Kevin is that person that, to me, reminds me the most of that. A little bit of silliness, real comedy, and I don't want to say real comedy because that's almost like saying that what Steve Martin wasn't doing real comedy. He was doing the comedy that worked at that time. But Kevin is, to me, relates to that, and that's where I see that black comic that gets into the crossover market.
I think that's a bad comparison. I know what you mean in terms of the crossover appeal, but when you talk about what traditional stand-up is, Kevin is way closer to that than what Steve Martin was doing.
I'm agreeing with that.
I get what you mean about the, fun factor. I got the fun factor. It's almost like if Kevin and Steve Martin were both beverages, one is a Capri Sun and the other one is a apple juice box. It's just for everybody.
Right.
By when I say that. But Kevin still, to me, is and was and always has been a traditional comedian. Steve Martin to go from 1 minute going, well, excuse me, to Happy Feet. And then from Happy Feet to, putting on a King Tut turban and doing a funny dance. It was so all over the place, and nothing to me was based in traditional stand-up. He did the one bit where he goes, it was the sound effects bit. And I mean, maybe you can explain this to me. He goes, this is eating a bowl of cornflakes. Starting your car. It was the exact same noise for two different things. Where is the joke? I don't understand what I'm missing.
The joke is him. The joke is that he doesn't realize that he's not funny. That's part of the joke, that he's not good at what he's doing. That's part of the joke. That part of the joke is he thinks he's making a sound effect, and he's not. It's very intricate on what he's doing and how he's moving people's mentality around. And again, it's the philosophy of comedy. Everybody's expecting this, that the right sound. If you were doing it, every one of those sounds would be perfect, and people go, "Oh, that's great." But for someone to go almost kid-like, where they think they're doing it and they're not, it's the funniness is in the irony of it. It's all nuanced. His comedy is all nuanced. That's all it is. It could never be done again. It could never be done again because if someone did it, it just seems stupid now. The irony of what he did to show us who we are almost as people in a very silly way is what he was doing. And it has a lot to do with philosophy. It has a lot to do with showing people a different perspective. That's all it is.
All right.
But you're coming out of a period where only people were talking about serious, painful things. Even comedians would come out every night and talk about the war. So this is a break from all of that. And it's a way to look at something different. If you had traditional comedy wasn't being picked up at that time. He went, it was almost like a slap in the face. I hate to say it, but you see those old movies where the woman's like, she does, "You're hysterical." And then the guy slaps her in the face and then she calms down. That's almost like what he was doing. We were in this mode where comedy was all political. Nixon was an animal. This is this way this is going. We're in a war. And he's like, his basic thing is like, calm down, and slaps him in the face. Ha ha. That's what it was. It couldn't be done today.
I gotta say, one of my favorite performances by him of all time was when he played the evil dentist in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah.
That performance, dude, was phenomenal. And let me go back a second. It's funny because we were talking about how when we were in Canada, the places we played, Edmonton, Calgary, the casinos, where it was more like these high ceilings. Even when we did Holland, Michigan.
Yeah.
It was in kind of like a gym.
Yeah, it was a gymnasium.
And then, gymnasium. And then when we played, of course, Montreal, Ottawa, Boston, these were actual theaters, And I love when he talked about how in comedy, places with high ceilings and how it affects the laugh in the room, which is what you and I were saying about, dude, it's very hard to do comedy in a place where there's cathedral-like ceilings and places that aren't really conducive to comedy because it affects the laughs. It feels like the laughs they go in this orbit and you don't really capture them unless you're in a place that's
quickly. Unless you're at LOL in San Antonio for whatever weird reason that room works.
Yeah.
That's a big cube and shouldn't work. But there's rooms that aren't conducive to comedy that work. The comedy store, even though it has low ceilings and is in the basement, it shouldn't work because the room is f***ed up. The way that it's all on the sides and not any, nobody is very short in front of you, but that room works. There's certain rooms that just that beat that. But yes, for the most part, everything you're saying is correct. You know what I really liked about this though? It made me closer to understanding you. There's a point where you're a comedian, and as far as you can stretch your brain around humor, there's always humor. Every day something new's coming out. But as far as a comedian, and I don't understand this because I haven't been in this as long as you, and I haven't got to that point, but you want other challenges, like the movies, the TV stuff, and he was just like, okay, I'm ready to move on. And when you feel like you've gotten to that point, you want that. And I see that, where you put the effort in, and that's where you want to go next because that opens you up. And then comedy can come back because you've got that, you took that stretch. Go ahead, though. I want to hear what you say about that.
No, I think deep down, we all want that. I know that there are times when you'll say, that's not your MO. And that's, like I said, nothing's one way. So people like you exist. But I think deep down, we all want that. But the fact remains, we all can't achieve that. Or for whatever reason, we don't all achieve that. Had he done The Jerk and it came out and it bombed, and then maybe he got a second shot and then that bombed, he wouldn't have a movie career. But the fact remains, I guess he built up enough of an audience and enough of a demand that, and not to mention that the movie was a good movie, that, once that took off, as he said, he wanted to get off the comedy train and get on the movie train. But he was able to have that option to switch trains because the movie took off. There's a lot of dudes whose trains don't take off, so they're stuck where they are.
Yeah. Two things that I want to say to that. One, we missed a comic that is not Steve Martin-like, but the silliness is there, and that was Jim Carrey. And career-wise, did comedy, and then made the switch over when he was done, when he felt like comedy was he was at the edge of comedy now. And he does the switch over, and he goes into the movies. And I was just thinking that. The movie that I liked from Steve Martin that made me really a fan of his acting was Roxanne.
Never saw that.
It shows him as an actor with Daryl Hannah in it. It's a real cute movie. It isn't like it's a remake of Cyrano de Bergerac with the nose. He wants a smaller nose. He has this huge nose. It showed his acting chops though. It really is. That's where you really see it. Like this guy doesn't just have to play a silly character. He can do way more. Pennies from Heaven was actually very underrated. It was a good movie, but that was never going to be a hit movie. It would appeal to a certain small audience.
Yeah, dude, I gotta say I've never seen too many Steve Martin movies. I remember seeing The Jerk when I was a kid. I was gonna say I remember seeing The Kid when I was a jerk.
So yesterday,
I remember seeing The Jerk when I was a kid. And the only other movies I recall, honestly, it was like I said, Little Shop of Horrors. I gotta say, I think that's it. I never saw Three Amigos. I never saw, which, I've heard people say it was a good movie, but to me, it just didn't look interesting at all. Being an Eddie Murphy fanatic, I've never seen Bowfinger.
Bowfinger was all right. I didn't think it was great. I think when you watch two people that have had the career that they have, I think it underdelivered. But because they're great, I think there could have been more done. I don't know what could have been more done, but it was great. L.A. Story is another great Steve Martin movie that's a little bit more serious. But there was another movie that I was looking for that I wanted to say, and I can't remember the name of it. Steve Martin has had great movies. It's the one that he did with Rick Moranis when he plays a gangster. I'm trying to remember what the name of that movie was.
Oh, I didn't even. The only movie I knew of was Little Shop of Horrors.
No, the interesting part about this movie with Rick Moranis, where he plays, and Steve Martin plays the gangster, like he's like a Jersey gangster or New York gangster, where he's tipping people when he goes into, he tips everybody in this movie, and he's cutting his grass. It's just kind of funny. But Moranis was supposed to be like this. I think they switched the characters, where Steve was supposed to be the FBI kind of guy, or the federal marshal or whatever he was, and Moranis was supposed to be the gangster, which is weird in that casting anyway. But then the director or whoever was in charge of it switched around. The guys took up the challenge and they did it. And it's not a great movie. It's a fun movie to watch. Not a great movie, fun movie to watch.
Part two of this, it seems like, and this is a great problem to have, but it seems like when you're the Jim Carreys of the world, the Robin Williams, the Eddie Murphy, the Steve Martins, and you've had a career with such longevity, decade after decade after decade, we all know no one stays hot forever. No one stays on top forever. You start to have some ebb and flows. And I guess when Steve Martin was on the maybe kind of sort of downside of his career, things just weren't hitting the way they used to, which was interesting because I loved when he said, I'm done with the movie business because the movie business is done with me.
Right.
But at one point, I guess it was the premiere for the movie he did called Mixed Nuts. And the one guy working the red carpet, the reporter, the interviewer, goes, can I ask you, he's baiting him. And of course, Steve Martin, I don't think he knew he was baiting him, but Steve, being the gracious, kind person that he seems to naturally be, went for the bait. And the guy goes, I have one question. Why are you not funny anymore? And Steve then shot him a look and just walked away. What an asshole.
Yeah.
What would make you want to do that?
I don't know why people are the people that they are, but I'm just going to say this because, and it doesn't really have anything to do with what we're talking about, but everything to do with what we're talking about. I saw this post, and I've seen it like 3 times. It says, it's on Instagram. Name a comedian you absolutely don't like.
How much did my name come up?
I didn't even look at it because to me, I wanted to respond with, you're all such negative pieces of shit if you commented on this.
Oh.
Because all you're doing is looking for what you don't like. No one why do we live in what we hate when we could live in what we love? Instead of saying, I've never seen a post that said, tell me the comedian that you love. I see, tell me who you think are the best comedians. Who do you love as a comic? Who do you appreciate? How about this? Who do you appreciate as a comic? Only reason I say that is that we live in such a world right now where we want all the negative. We'd love that.
You want me to answer that? You want me to answer that for you?
Yeah.
Because most people are miserable, and misery loves company.
And I think
that's all. Most people don't love their lives. They don't love what they do. They don't love the relationships they're in. They're miserable.
I agree with that 100% because they're looking to be brought down. They want to bring everybody down with them. They don't want to rise. And this is a huge problem, I think, with people. They don't want to rise. They just rather bring everybody down. You know, I'm missing movies that I'm thinking about. There was the movie where he's the dad. They do have that a little bit in there that I thought was an excellent movie. Father of the Bride, I think is what it is. But the other one that's great was with Michael Caine, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
No, that was a big hit.
That was an excellent movie. I love that movie.
Oh, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Excellent movie.
Again, that's one I never saw.
No, you know what? Dude, I'm going to on this podcast, I would like to talk about it for 5 minutes. Please watch that movie.
Yeah.
So funny. So creative with John Candy. This, and there's this, I saw this about how they had to cut Candy's scene, and it's really important.
Which I thought was kind of up.
Yeah. If you love that movie, which I did, and then I saw that, I was like, that's terrible, man, because that needed to be there. You telling me we can't add another minute to that movie? It would have made but I think they wanted to keep him on the sillier side and just have a moment of true feeling. So that may have been part of it.
Speaking of miserable. The thing that spoke to me more in the second half was when they were talking about the relationship with his dad and about his loneliness. You know, even when he said how when he first got married to his co-star from I forget which movie it was, but he goes, I felt I'm supposed to get married. And he said, well, that's never a good idea or a good reason to get married because you feel like you're supposed to. And I guess it wasn't, until he got with his second wife, who he's currently with now, where he just kept talking about, even during the height of his career, the Steve Martin mania, he talked about how lonely he was. And I just, I feel like that's where I'm at right now, man. Like, I'm a lonely dude. My relationship with my girl is which I'm trying to make it work. I think she's trying, but I know I am. And it's just, it's not working. And I just complain a lot. And I feel like at times justifiably so. I want to walk away, but I don't want to start over. I don't want to go through the inconvenience. I don't want to go through the pain. But it's like, how much pain am I putting myself through by being somewhere that I know ain't working? And I just, I don't know, man. I'm a lonely dude right now, man. Mentally, emotionally, internally. and it's eating at me.
Dude, I mean, I don't know if you want to get into this on the podcast. It sucks, dude. It sucks.
Yeah, it does.
No, it sucks because I have to be around you. And there's moments, I'm going to tell you this, I'm just going to be honest. When you were really first wanting to work this out, it was great, man. You had this emotional level of enthusiasm about life, about this new beginning. And you were going to put, I felt it. And it felt good. I was on the road with you, and you would come out a little bit. You were just a little different on how you approach things. And you're going, I see you honestly going back into your Ari Spears shell. It's protective. It's safe.
I don't know. I don't know what the right adjective is. Protective, safe. I just, I'm getting I'm tired. Like I'm just so tired. I'm mentally drained. I'm emotionally drained. I'm physically drained. And I feel like, he talked about the pressure when he was being young of having to provide, having to do this, having to do that, be creative, right? Do these movies, succeed. And it's just like when you got the weight of the world on your back and you can't quit, you don't want to quit, but you just want to rest a little bit. And because you can't, you're either going to go, this is either going to break me or I'm going to figure this out. But if you don't have the energy or the space to think and figure it out, which is what I kind of really later loved about him, he just seemed like a problem solver. He knew how to figure every problem out, no matter how difficult. He came up with the answer. When they showed it in the early part of his career, when he went, well, this isn't working, so maybe I should do this. And he kind of wrote everything down in like a journal. And he just kept going and going until he solved whatever the problem was. And I think you could do that with anything in life. There's an answer to everything. There's no lock that doesn't have a key. But at one point, I don't know, like you just get tired of trying to find the key, and you try to rationalize living in this space that you don't want to be in.
Because
even though it's
because I think we all want to live in a space where we feel not just acceptance from the people that are around us, but we feel acceptance from ourselves. And then once you feel acceptance from yourself, you don't want to be around people that make you feel or you feel that unacceptability, because it's just tedious. It becomes tiring. We just said something, and I'm, I have no ground to stand on as far as like who I am as a person, other than I'm trying. And I'll just say this, I'm very understanding of that first relationship that I was in. I was in love with my first wife. I was in love with her, but I did feel like we got married because that was the thing to do. You're in love with someone, you marry someone. Love is not the answer. Love is part of the answer, but not the answer. I feel very lucky. I'm not just in love with Tara, but I feel connected and accepted, that I've been able to accept I was able to accept myself before, but I feel very accepted by her, and it feels easy to get through the day. It feels easy to work on myself. It feels easy to work on my comedy. It feels easy. I'm in this place where like, I don't know how much longer I can actually do comedy on the road. Like I'm going to be 60 in a year and a couple months. I don't know that I want to be trucking all over the world. And we've talked about it, and it feels very easy as far as like what we can do. I'm in a great place. I'm not, and I haven't always been in this place. But it's, and you got the acceptance that I have of myself is what makes it easy. And I'm not trying to do anything to be anybody else besides this. I don't care what comes with this. The peace that I have in this place far supersedes anything that I can have monetarily. Yeah, I love this place. I'm feel very happy right here. And I don't like the word happy. I feel fulfilled right here. I'm doing comedy. I'm in a great relationship. I love my life. I would like to see my boys more. That's the thing that drives me, is that I want to see my boys more. And maybe financially, if I was to have some more success, I could do that more. That's it. That's the only thing that motivates me right now.
I wish I had what you had, man.
But you can. Everybody can.
You can, and eventually I think a person will. It's just you have to go through that trough of.
Yeah.
You got to go through that tunnel of Shawshank Redemption doo-doo.
Yeah.
To come out clean on the other side. And right now I'm swimming in the dookie, man.
Career-wise, as far as comedy goes, I should be going to the city. I should be working out and trying to get up, and I should be challenging myself. That's my regret right now, because I have the ability to, because I live here. And that's the stage of my life. If I really, we've talked about this as far as giving it your best shot, putting all the effort out, that's my best shot. Being on the road with you and going to the city when I'm in town. And I need to do that second part. I'm going on the road with you. I've gotten better because I'm on the road with you. I've gotten better because you make me work harder. You hold me accountable, but I need to go to the city. That's another part of it. So, we all have stuff that we're still working on, man. No one has it all. And anybody who thinks that they have it all and they're done, they're wrong. We're complex, man. We always have to keep working on ourselves. But that acceptance, that's the thing that you need to do for yourself too, because, dude, you're a beast on stage. You need to be a beast inside. You need to. I know that you want that next level.
I need to be a beast in life.
Yeah, you want to work. You want that monetary level. You need that peace, and the other will come to you if you get that peace. You need the peace, man. You deserve that peace. Out of everything, that's what I would say to you. You deserve the peace. You deserve to be feel fulfilled inside. Because you've worked a long time, dude. I don't know any comedian that works as much as you. I'm sure there's comedians out there that I don't know that are on the road as much as you. But at the level that you are, the way you go out every week, the things that you do, I don't know anybody who does that. And so some peace would be nice for you. I'm being real honest. As your friend, as the person who sees you, I've spent more time with you than I spend with Tara. So I'm telling you.
Marry me. I gotta say, what was one of the things that was really genius about this, when he talked about wanting to shield his daughter from the camera,
thought that was
from
great.
The industry.
That was great.
And dude, he has this cartoonist that's drawing, these cartoons about his life, certain moments in his life. And the cartoonist is really great. When he mentioned it to Jerry Seinfeld, Jerry was like, "Oh, you got that guy?" So, of course, he's drawing Steve Martin's likeness 100% to the T. His wife's likeness 100% to the T. But then even when they showed Steve with a picture frame, which would normally have a family picture in it, the mother, the daughter, the husband, actual pictures, it was the cartoon likeness of Steve, the cartoon likeness of the wife, but the daughter was drawn like it would be drawn by an actual child.
Yeah.
Stick figure limbs, silly face. But then when they cut to the moment where he hugs his actual daughter, but instead of showing her on camera, which he doesn't want to do, it's the animated version of what it looked like she drew. I thought that was genius.
And what I loved about it is, and that shows a little bit about who he is and the genius of him, which I don't know if it was him or who he was collaborating with, the artist who draws. But, so many of a few of these people, I should say, a few famous people, no, we don't want our daughter in this, or we don't, it's almost like you come into their house, but they have this removal part. He was like, no, you're going to see me. I just don't want you to see her. You're going to see me interact with her. You're going to see that she has a relationship with me, but I'm not going to show you her because I want her to be able to go to school and not be part of this. I loved it. I love that he.
Yeah, that was great.
I love.
And see, that's why I'm saying overall, you know that there's something there. You don't accomplish what he has accomplished if there is nothing there. But that's why I'm saying maybe the second part of his career, his life, the movie guy, the thinker, but the thinker's always been there. I appreciated that more because the stand-up part for me was just like, I don't get this.
Well, you know what's funny to me about that, too, that you don't get it? You know what I love about Steve Martin is, and this has to do with a lot of comics that I meet. They're all in on comedy. And sometimes I feel like I'm all in on comedy. And it's too much, man. It's too much. If that's all we have, it's not enough. Because this is an art form. And we've got to appreciate art. And his love for playing music, and his love for artists, painters, and his art collection. I knew about his art collection when I was younger, and I appreciate it because I was an art student. That's what I went to school. That's what I started off in college as. I like painting. Man, his collection is unbelievable, and his appreciation. It's not that his collection is unbelievable, it's his appreciation for art. Even when you look around the house, when you see this, and they only show some things. I'm sure they had to possibly get approval to show certain things, but his art collection rivals museums. His appreciation for art, I think, is what rounds him out and has allowed him to see other things. We work so hard sometimes to be funny that we forget why it's funny. You have to look at other things. We have to see other things. That's how I believe that's what is the connection. That's the through piece that is missing in a lot of people. And it's missing in me. I need to appreciate other things more. Listen to other people more. Not necessarily artists, not necessarily comedians, other artists. I love listening to other artists. Their perspective is unique, not like mine. I don't agree with a lot of people. I'm a different kind of person, but to hear them, I think it's important, man.
That's all I have on this. But I will say I'm thankful that you sent me that clip of Bill Burr on Bill Maher's podcast. Dude, I've never seen anybody rip Bill Maher a new ass the way Bill Burr did. And you know, when you talk about other unique perspectives and philosophies, I always said Bill Burr is in my top.
Yeah.
He's on my Mount Rushmore. But to take the piss out of Bill Maher like that, because it showed me just how high on Bill Maher's horse he is. Like how Bill Maher thinks so much of himself to the point where it was just like, you pompous asshole.
Yeah, with his Chelsea.
And I love Bill Maher. I think he's one of the smartest dudes out there. Again, I've always said I loved what he does politically. I envy it because I know I can't do it, which is why I love the show Real Time. But the way Bill Burr took the piss out of Bill Maher, it showed me just how much of a pompous ass Bill Maher is.
Bill Maher, and that thing with Bill Maher and Burr was so incredible because, but here's the problem I have with it. I think Burr was correct on everything that he said and how, you know, just you don't have to work that hard. I love that Burr kind of made it like, why are you working so hard? I'm a guy. You're going to use all these. You're going to use Latin. Where are we getting with this? What are you trying to accomplish with this conversation that we're having in your room? And then he poked at his clothes a little bit. Burr has this way of bringing things into perspective, not just on the pompous side. But I'll never forget this. I was going to lunch with Verzi. He used to open up for Burr, Paul Verzi. And we're going to lunch, and Burr's in town, and this is in Phoenix, and we're about ready to go to lunch, and then Burr calls Verzi and says, hey, I'd like to go to lunch. So we went over to that pizza place that I've taken you to before. Of course, I'm not going to remember the name of it right now. But we went over to that pizza place. And Burr is so excellent on everything. He said, I told him it wins Zaggett's pizza. He said, but it doesn't beat New York pizza. He just went through this whole thing. It's excellent. It's like that. But then he beats everything into a flat line. Burr doesn't. I believe Burr doesn't have a peaks and valleys. He just wants everything just straight across a straight line of how life should be. Because not only does he shit on that, but I remember when he was talking, and I picked him up in my car, and it was a Ford Focus, a white Ford Focus. And we're driving back, and he said, "He goes, yeah, this isn't a bad car for a comic." He was doing it. Said that not. He said it's not bad. He said it's a nice car for a lot of comics will pick up Burr, especially openers and stuff like that. And they have like a '72 Nissan something. So he was like, nice car. And I go, really? I go, because you beat the shit out of the white Ford Focus that you said every white guy in Philly has one. And he started laughing. He goes, did I say that shit? I said that, huh? Yeah. He has this idea, this way of looking at life through this lens that just takes all the off everything. And so Bill Maher, yes, he is that guy. But when you go up against Burr, I think he's calling him out for his Chelsea boots. It just you're here on this podcast and you're wearing these pants and Chelsea boots, and I'm going to be comfortable. I think there's something about Burr that he's the most normal, abnormal person in the world. He just has a way of looking at things. I love it.
Yeah, he does. And he has a way of being able to say things that some guys can't.
Yeah.
Just if the average Joe, even if the average, I don't want to say the average comedian, but some comedians I don't think could say what he says and get away with it.
I agree with you 100%. It's the way that he says it and the way that it sounds coming from him. Sounds like he didn't tell Maher, he told Maher that he's being an asshole without saying that he was an asshole, but describing every asshole part about him.
And Maher was laughing, which means he gets the truth.
Yeah. There was no lie. And you know what it was? Because there was no lie in it. And he wasn't on Maher. He was explaining to Maher exactly who he was. And I love the part where he finally just goes, one more of those comments. And I have the mind just to rip
I'm about 3 seconds from taking this mic off and walking off.
Yeah.
Now, what I loved about that was I get the sense that he's joking, but it seemed like he's not.
Yeah. Like I didn't come on here to have a pompous fest.
Right.
You could take your Chelsea boots, and I love that he said the Chelsea boot things because I wanted a pair of Chelsea boots. I kind of did, and then he said that, and I was like, I ain't buying any Chelsea boots. I loved it. I'm glad we saw it. You real quick before we get off this, and I know we're already over, but I want to just ask you this: what did you think about his relationship that he has with Martin Short? Not Martin Short.
Oh, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, Martin. Yeah.
And this, I hate to, bring this around to me a little bit, but this is where I scratch my head sometimes. I go, when you look at greats who work with greats and you rub elbows, even if it's not on the most major level with those same greats, doesn't that say something about who you are and where you are? Because it's like, listen, Martin Short did Mad TV, but he did his character Jiminy Glick. But then, I was in the movie La La Wood with Martin Short where he plays his character Jiminy Glick. Me and D. Ray Davis. And we had a couple of scenes with Marty. And I'm just going, whether it's Tom Cruise, whether it's Martin Short, whether it's John Leguizamo, I've been in the room with some of these people. And I'm just going... But the weird thing is like, okay, I did Jiminy Glick, but it didn't do anything for me. I did Jerry Maguire, but it didn't do anything for me. Like, I don't get this tease of how could I work with some of these respectable, great people and there's nothing that really comes of it. Like, this is the weird about Hollywood where it's like sometimes you see actresses who have been in major movies a la Rebecca De Mornay, who have been in major movies, major players, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's an expiration date. They're just gone. You never see them again. Gina Davis. At one point, Thelma and Louise. I forget, I don't know her whole catalog, but for a minute, Gina Davis was the it woman in Hollywood.
Fletch.
Now, gone. Like, you could be, this is the only business that you could be in where you could work with respectable, notable people and there's no guarantee that you'll get anything from it. It's
No.
just a moment you had.
No, there is no guarantee. But some of it, I think Chappelle gave you the answer to some of it.
Remind me.
When he looked at you and said, "I remember when I used to kill when I had."
Oh,
Some
right.
people don't want to be in the room with people that they have to that are trying to win the moment. Bill Burr just said it tomorrow. You don't have to win every moment. Just relax.
But I wasn't trying to win any of those moments. I did what I was supposed to do in those moments. But you know, as an entertainer, especially as a comedian, you always look for some space to be able to put your own stink on something. Because if you do that and it kills and they keep it, that could be the thing that puts you over more than the script that they gave you.
Yep, and there's the balance in there. I don't know how that plays out.
Yeah.
And there's balance to it. I don't know how it plays out. Do we want to give dates? Do we want to give some dates on this?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Did you like Jerry in this? Did you think it was necessary to have Jerry Seinfeld? Is Jerry Seinfeld the
I kind of, you know, it was a documentary.
Is it the bar
felt
though?
like it
Because
belonged.
yeah, but what are they friends? That's what I want to know. Are they?
Yeah,
friends?
of course I think they're friends. Yeah, it seems like they're friends.
It's just very interesting. All right, man. We're gonna be. Hey, man. This week when we're back on the road, you guys are listening to this on Wednesday, and that Friday we're going to be at the Funny Bone in Richmond, Virginia. We're there the 24th through the 26th. Thank you. The following week, Off the Hook Comedy Club, Naples, Florida. Man, that's just a weird ass place. I'm going to be real honest. I like everybody there, but the people in Naples, Florida, your life is too good, man. You don't know how to laugh at
Everybody there feels like they're the Howls from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, it does. It feels that way. And they can't laugh at because I think that they feel that that's laughing down. But laugh up. Enjoy it, man. But Off the Hook, great food, man. I like the place. We're going to be there Thursday, May 30th, and we're going to be there till Sunday, June 2nd. The next week will be and this was just added, so if you guys haven't seen this, I think we said it last week, but we're going to be at the Pittsburgh Improv June 7th through the 9th. And then Cap City, June 13th through the 16th. We're going to be out there a day early. You're going out a day early, right? Go over to
Yeah.
Creek in the Cave and check out Joe Rogan's Mothership Connection Comedy Club. So Cap City, June 13th through the 16th. We'll be in Austin, Texas. Aries is going to be... Where are you going to be? You're in... what?
Why you
You're going to be in Georgia.
Really?
Yeah. I don't.
You're not going to be there?
No, I got my wedding.
Georgia.
Yeah, you're a theater show, Georgia. It's on, and I'm going to be at my wedding on the 22nd here in Hoboken. So we're going to catch back up at Helium, Richmond, Missouri, the 27th through the 30th of June after the wedding. And then I think we're off for a little bit. And we have some new dates. I'll update them. You can always check Aries' website, ariesspears.com, and get all the up-to-date dates.
You have the dates. You have the dates for Phoenix, both Tucson and Stand Up Live.
August 22nd to the 23rd, we're at Stand Up Live, and then we're at the Rialto Theater in Tucson, my hometown. We'll be there on the 23rd.
It'll be my first time ever in Tucson.
Yeah, Tucson is, like I said, it's where I'm from. It's an interesting place. But we're, like I said, 22nd to 23rd, we're at Stand Up Live. We're back downtown Phoenix. And then 24th, I might have said it wrong, 24th with the Rialto Theater in Tucson. Yeah, it's going to be good to go back home, Tucson, spend a couple days out there. I was just down in Tucson not too long ago, but just for a day. So I can actually take my time and hang out in Tucson for a day or two. So it'll be nice. I'll take you some good Mexican food, though, while we're down there. Some of the real deal shit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
You got anything else?
That's it, right?
That's the show,
No, I
man.
got nothing.
Yeah, that's a good show.
I know what we should call this one.
What?
Andy, will you marry me?
All right. That's the show, man.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Kleinschmidt for the Laugh Button Podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.